So let's talk a little bit about some of the findings, because you guys looked at almost 1,400 credit union websites, around 52,000 images.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that went into this research. It wasn't something that you did in a day. What were some of the key findings, and what were some of the things that maybe surprised you, going a little bit deeper?
So one of the things that we found was that the photos of real people were almost non-existent. They were only about 3.5% of the total number of website photos that we found. And of those, we viewed in our, since we were looking just at credit unions, but I would hazard a guess that this isn't just a credit union problem, that almost 84% of the credit union websites we visited don't have a single image of an actual member or an actual employee. They're just not there. Photos of real employees are almost as rare. They're only about 12% of the total photos that have been put out there. So they're vanishingly small. Our quote unquote most important asset is an inconvenient abstraction when it comes to the messages that we're sharing out there. And that 70% of the photos that we found were stock, and 91% of the websites that we visited had at least one stock photo, which means that we are giving our members and our customers tens of thousands of excuses to ignore us, tens of thousands of opportunities to just basically put us in the woodpile and just not, and think that we're just the same as everybody else. And that was shocking to me, that this is this prevalent. And it's too soon, I think. I would love to be able to say that, I know exactly why these things aren't happening. And that's going to take a lot more research and a lot more study. But I think if you were to ask any 10 financial services professionals, leaders, marketers, whoever, and ask them which one's easier to get, a real photo and a real story of a real member, or just go on to Adobe Stock and download something that looks vaguely similar, they're going to go to Adobe Stock every time, because there's so much pressure, there's so much busyness, that we've forgotten the people that actually make all of it possible.
So I want to hypothesize a little bit with you about why this is a problem based upon what we're seeing through our digital growth diagnostic studies and working with financial brands. Number one, it's a purpose problem. And what I mean by that is the traditional mission and vision statements of the financial brand are a little internal facing, or maybe they're a lot internal facing. They're clinical, they're rooted in legacy. The opportunity, though, is to create an external facing purpose statement that is surrounded, or that surrounds the people of the communities that a financial brand serves, because that would make it so much easier to make the investment in what I would call this evergreen content, whether it be a visual, whether it be a story, whether it be a video. And you actually are kind of working through a very specific process to develop evergreen content around specific product lines, to where I do something once, but it creates exponential value over a much longer period of time. Yeah, it might be a little bit harder. It might cost a little bit more than go into Adobe Stock, but I'm a CEO, I'm a CFO. I want to know that this is going to help me get more loans and take more deposits. Mm-hmm. In your study, I want to talk about this first, and then we'll come back to the process opportunities. Sure. But in your studies, you noted that there was I think it was was it a moving company?
Yeah. So there's a moving company that literally, they changed one image on one of their pages, and I'm pulling up the data here just so I can make sure that I have it. They swapped out a stock image on the front page of their website, and this is a truck driving school. Swapped out a perfectly composed, very nice, very boring stock photo of a guy driving a truck. They swapped that out with a real image of a real student standing in front of one of their trucks with their company information there on the back. So again, truck driving training company that's based in Chicago. The guy's sweatshirt has the word Florida on it. So there's already confusion. But that changing just that one image increased their requests for info 161%, and it increased their program registrations by 38%. Literally, their revenue from that from that area went up 38%. And when I tell that to people in credit union spaces and presentations and stuff like that, they're like, wow. And I ask them, how many of you want 38% more revenue? Nobody's hands stay down. They all raise their hands in the air and wave them as if there are no consequences. They say, yes, we want this, but then that's where you talked about the legacy thinking, the reflexiveness, and I see them on their face, and they come up to me afterwards and they say, this sounds really good, but what if you photograph a member and they leave? What if you use real images of your employees and they leave? And I'm like, what happens if you don't and they leave anyway? Because what I found is that's just fear talking. It's that, oh my gosh, what if we highlight this person and they rob us? It's like, well, you are going to have that risk anyway. Me snapping a photo doesn't make them exponentially more likely to ruin you. But when people see that you have taken time to actually put that human element in there, that's huge. From the world of pharmaceuticals, because this has become this is connected with a larger project that I'm working on when it comes to visual storytelling that I want to talk about here in a minute. The world of pharmaceuticals, there was kind of this aha moment back in 2017 when drug maker Merck, for the first time ever in a large market advertising campaign, used a photo and a story of a real patient in their advertising. It was like this unbelievable moment that their industry circulars were talking about, and people were started following suit because they knew that the more people that saw real people using these actual interventions, the more likely they were to feel more comfortable with them. And why can't we do that in our industry?
Yeah.
In financial services? And oddly enough, looking from the world of animation. The world of animation and computer graphics, there's a phenomenon called the uncanny valley. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Uncanny valley is basically, it says that in animation, if something is clearly a robot, it won't be creeped out. If it's clearly something like in a Pixar movie that's clearly a robot, but acting like a human being, we're not that weirded out by it. But the more that the automaton starts to act and look more human, but doesn't hit it, there is what's this dip in connection to that thing. The more something that's not human tries to pretend that it's human and misses the mark, we're like, go away, right? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so to make that more real for me personally, I think it was the experience that I had when I watched The Lion King, and I was confused was I watching something on the Discovery or the Nat Geo channel, or was I watching, and it put me in an uncomfortable situation. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm.
And the way where the research is going when visual animators look at this, and I'm looking at the quote here, a compelling area for this research is what occurs when mismatches between the robot's appearance and their behavior. And I think you can replace the word robot with financial institution. The level of disconnect between our appearances being, we're so connected and we care about you, but our behavior and our imaging doesn't match up. We say that we're real. We say that we want to be personalized, but our imaging completely contradicts that. That puts us squarely in this uncanny valley perceptually for our customers to think that there's something just not right there. They're not walking the talk. They don't believe what they're saying.
Wow.
We become cliche. We become ignored. And even more so, we become kind of like, you're the enemy. You're not working for me. All banks are bad. All of them should go away. What's the difference with credit unions? Oh, they're just a bank with a different kind of tax structure. We all get put in the same bucket. We all get put away because we're not real. People can sense the disconnect between our words and our images. They see that difference. They want no part of it. That is the valley I think we're moving through right now. We can get our way out of it, and people are doing it, but it needs to happen faster.